15 years, blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
Connecting to server. Connection confirmed. Connecting to website. Connection confirmed. Adjusting lights to preset level. Adjusting sound. Adjusting volume. Recording.
Real movies for real people. T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema 2021.
You know, I'd say we should stop meeting like this, but the problem is we're supposed to be meeting like this, and we still haven't got things in swing again.
No, we
Hopefully
haven't.
now we will be, because we've been working at it.
Yes, we have, and we're back.
Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 653, June 6th, 2021. We've been trying to get back into a weekly swing of things since mid-March, mid-April.
Something like that,
And there's just been things going on that we have not been able to get around. That should stop now. We got everything done except the final thing in the office. And so we now will be back every week, we promise.
We may not always be talking about new films, but we'll be talking about a film
We'll be talking about something.
Yeah.
Like this one. We're going to go back, way back, back to, the era of me,
the me decade. The me decade. 1974, to be specific.
Yes, and what we're going to call this episode, the Zardoz Mystique. We've been trying to talk about this movie since we saw it a little over 2 years ago at the at the Museum of Fine Arts.
Yep.
I fell and hurt myself badly that night. Yeah. But it was...
Which we still don't figure out how that happened, but...
I tripped on my own feet. I tripped on my shadow.
Yeah.
I tripped on a solidified shadow on the floor. I tripped on the cat running by. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
You were better off with you tripped over your own feet.
I did, probably. That was embarrassing, and it hurts falling on marble floors.
Yes, it does.
Anyway.
The Zardoz Mystique, which we could also call, or how to ruin your movie with a trailer.
Yeah.
Or how not to do a trailer.
Zardoz has been a highlight at the annual trailer treats at the Brattle Theater. Its trailer is so ridiculous.
Yes. We should explain what Trailer Treats is for those of you tuning in late.
Well, we've explained it numerous times. We've covered it numerous times.
Yeah.
Trailer Treat is a show that the Brattle has every year where it's 90 minutes of old classic goofy trailers and a few cartoons, and it's a lot of fun.
They're trailers from all genres of films, but for the most part they do have one... every once in a while you'll get a trailer for a classic scary film or something like that.
Oh,
like
yeah, you get good
Rosemary's
trailers
Baby.
as well as bad trailers.
Yeah, like Rosemary's Baby or Jaws or things like that.
There is a prerequisite for certain trailers.
Yes.
Everybody expects to see Sonny Chiba and The Bodyguard every year. Everybody expects to see Deep Thrust every year.
Yes, which is not what you think it is.
And everybody, it's a kung fu film. And everybody expects to see the Zardoz trailer every year.
And everybody, every year, laughs their frickin' head off.
Last year it was different because Ned Hinkle, who is the director of the Brattle, puts this together himself. He on purposely ran the trailer as the last trailer in the trailer show. This was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Last time we were there.
Went, yeah.
Upside down and backwards. So the dialogue was backwards. The picture was upside down. It was hilarious. The audience got a big kick out of it.
Didn't make it any clearer.
No.
Made it just about... The problem is if you run it forward and right side up, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's a
You're
very...
still going, what the hell
It's
did I
a
just
very confusing trailer. It's a very silly trailer. There's some effects in the trailer that make you look like, oh, this is going to really suck. Mm-hmm. And yet John Borman, who is a great director, who has directed a lot of great films over the years, was in charge of this film, and it actually does not deserve the reputation it has.
No, it doesn't. The thing is, now, as we've done on this show many times, I have brought up my movie rules, and one of my movie rules has always been trailers always lie. Now, what I mean by that is that when you see a trailer for a film, sometimes you'll see a trailer and you'll go to the film and it will be completely different than what you saw.
Although that's more indicative of movies that are around from the 1990s on. A lot of the stuff in the 70s, they didn't have the extra footage. Like, one of the biggest examples of that is Twister. If you saw the first Twister trailer with this scene where this giant tractor trailer tire coming straight at the camera, that scene is not in the film.
Right. Even more specifically, talking about the Zhang Yimou film Hero.
Oh, yeah, that completely was a lot different than the movie actually is.
Which, if you haven't seen yet, why not?
Yeah.
If you saw the trailer for Hero and then saw the movie for Hero, you're going, wait a minute, huh? But it's still a great film, but the trailer completely misleads you.
The trailer makes you think it's something entirely different.
Mm-hmm. The problem with Zardoz, the trailer for Zardoz, is the fact
it makes it look like a cheesy science fiction film.
Yeah.
And
the
it's
fact
not.
that when you do a trailer for your film, this is something for all you film students out there. Your Auntie Kim's going to give you a little pearl of wisdom, so listen closely. When you do a trailer for your film, the reason you do a trailer is that it will make people want to come see your film, which is the polar opposite of what happens with the trailer for Zardoz.
Yeah.
Because we both sat there the first time I think the first time we'd ever seen the trailer
was a trailer treats.
Yeah. And we were both like, oh, hell no, I don't ever want to see this movie.
We noticed that it was coming to the Museum of Fine Arts in February of 2019. And so it's been over 2 years since we saw it.
Yeah, we froze our respective sexual organs off getting there, waiting for a cab.
Yeah.
Or Uber or whatever we did because it was cold.
It was an interesting... I said, we really should go see this.
Yeah, I will also admit, true confessions time here, this was a tough sell for him. Because I was like, no, hell no, F no,
and you
no.
But I pointed out to her, I said, it's not actually as bad as the trailer makes it to be. Critics have liked it. There's quite a few critics that are high praise of it. There are some that don't like it and have, shot it down. But it serves its purpose as a mid-70s made science fiction fantasy with a pretty much Sean Connery is pretty much the best known person in the movie. There's other people that are familiar, but they're not major stars.
There's a lot of people in it that you're like, hey, it's that guy or that person.
Right.
So that basically, just to kind of sum up what happened when it came to going to see this film, TC finally wore me down, and I was like, fine, we will go see this movie, but if it turns out to be the complete slog that I think it's going to, you owe me.
Yeah.
So off we went to the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, which is a very beautiful place.
They have a great theater in there.
Yeah, they do.
It's set up similar to the Salem. This is one that is at the Peabody Essex Museum, except it's about twice the size.
Yeah,
and it's
we saw a great animated feature there called Rocks in My Pockets.
It's also where I saw Tom at the Farm a few years ago.
So we saw the movie, and we sat through it, and we paid attention, and we didn't sneer at it, and we didn't misty it, and we didn't do anything else. We actually sat there and watched it like grown-ups. Somewhere my mother's going, I knew she could do it if she tried.
My heart.
I miss you, Mom. And we got to the end of the movie.
And we looked at each other and we said, you know something? This is actually a really good film.
Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, you know what? You're actually right.
I don't want to go... to try and explain the plot of this film in detail would take an hour and a half. It is a film you need to pay attention to because you're going to get lost really quickly.
You will. It takes place in the year...
Give us a basic overview of the plot, if you could.
It takes place in the year 2293, which is a long time from now, but not as long as you think.
Yeah.
And Earth has been destroyed because of a nanite plague. I have no idea what that is, but it's not the bomb, so that's different. And we hadn't got to the zombie apocalypse genre yet, really, so we're not at that point.
Yeah.
Basically, Earth is uninhabitable up to a point. There are small pockets where there are people that are basically living what everyone thinks they want. They're called Eternals, and they are immortal. They live in these palatial conditions compared to the rest of the world, which, to be perfectly honest, pardon my French, is a shithole. The people that are outside of the domes, or the barriers, let's put it barriers, are known
because they're not really domes.
No, they're not domes. It's a barrier.
Things, yeah.
And the people that are outside of it are called brutals, and they can die, and do often. They're often hunted by members of their own kind that are referred to as exterminators. The brutals' basic existence is summed up as slave labor. They create the food. They, harvest the food that is taken by the Eternals, whom most brutals live in fear of, because the brutals, the exterminators, are controlled by... They worship a god called Zardoz, who is a giant floating stone head in the sky that spits out guns. And also spits out rhetoric saying, like, the gun is good, the penis is evil, and stuff like that. Basically, they want people to kill each other off, but slowly, because the Eternals still have to eat. One of these exterminators, a man named Zed, wants to actually find out what the hell is going on, and winds up stowing a ride in the Stonehead Zardoz, and finds out what is really happening in what's left of the world. You want to go over the cast?
Yeah, that's a pretty basic overview, because it gets so confusing if you're not paying attention.
You can't. It's not quite at a level of trying to explain Inception. But it's
close.
It's a room adjacent.
Yeah, Sean Connery is Ed, Charlotte Rampling as Consuela, Sarah Kesselman as May, Niall Buggy as Arthur Frayne / Zardoz, and a few other people that are basically people that you probably never heard of. John Alderaan might be somebody you know if you're a British fan. It was filmed in Ireland, and is employed a lot by... the extras are all played by native Irish... gypsies, what would they be known? Although we wouldn't call them that now.
No, the term is travelers.
Travelers.
They're supposed to call them travelers. So that's the proper term.
John Borman, I've talked about him. He's a very meticulous filmmaker. I was not a fan of Deliverance when I was younger. But I was a huge fan of his mid-'80s film, The Emerald Forest, which we talked about on a previous show.
I had never seen Deliverance until I was like a teenager.
Yeah, I saw it at the drive-in with Frank and Mom.
And I really didn't... I mean, I'd heard about it for years, and I'd never been able to figure out what the big deal was. And then I saw it, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, it's an eye-opening film. It's not necessarily a good film in a lot of ways, but it's an eye-opening film. Zardoz is out there.
It is very out there.
Just being perfectly blunt, it's out there. But it's a good out there.
It's out there, but it's not an unfollowable out there.
If you take the time,
pay attention.
That's just it. If you take the time, if you go in and say, I want to figure out what this movie is about, you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. If you go in this movie just to misty it, you're not going to understand the story, and you're going to come out going like, man, that's a piece of crap, just like I thought.
Right.
And it's actually I actually had a discussion with Ned after we saw it, and he said, yeah, I've always thought it got a bad rap. It's a very good film. But the trailer is terrible, and I'm like, yeah, no kidding.
Well, part of the problem with the film that makes it very easy to just looking at it from the trailer, and it's part of the film, so is the costume design.
Yeah.
Some of the outfits that Sean Connery gets stuck in this film
are ridiculous. Nothing you'd see James Bond in.
No. They're just, I don't know what the costume choices were at the time, but those were not good. They were not good looks at all.
Sean Connery with a long braided ponytail is also very strange to see.
Well,
people aren't used to seeing him with long hair.
Well,
so
people would see that. Yeah, but people would see that again later on as Ramirez in the Highlander films. So
yeah, true, but they weren't used to it. They were used to it by then. But when Zardoz came out, everybody was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
It's interesting to note that the original star of the film was supposed to be Burt Reynolds, who had starred in Deliverance for Borman.
Right.
And he had to drop out because he became ill. And Sean Connery stepped in. I can't help but wonder what kind of a film this would have been with Burt in it, because I don't think he would have got it. No offense to Burt. He was a great actor and a really intelligent man and everything. But this was so, I mean, Deliverance, I can understand. All of his B movies, they're always, and not, before he went comedy with Smokey and the Bandit forward, when he was a dramatic actor mostly, he did a lot of dramatic stuff. But Zardoz is so far out there that I think Reynolds' career would have suffered badly, and it would have been interesting.
I don't know.
Connery's did.
Yeah, it's one of those what could have been kind of situations.
Connery didn't get back on top till he came back as James Bond and Never Say Never Again.
Yeah.
So that's,
which is not canon.
Although Outland has its critical favorites.
Yeah. A lot of people have seen Outland. A lot of science fiction fans really like
Outland's a good movie. I've seen it. Yeah. It's a good movie. But it's like, he didn't really get back in track until he did Never Say Never Again. And then, of course, the Highlander films and the Untouchables brought him right back to the top again.
Right. So, yeah. Pity he had to go out on League of Extraordinary.
Yeah, well, he chose to retire after that film.
Yeah,
it's a terrible film. That's actually a bad film, unlike Zardoz.
Yeah, the thing about that film is it's such wasted potential.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. They completely blew it with that film.
Really. But the thing about Zardoz that I find so interesting, if you go by just the story, I'm not even talking the acting or the costume design or blah 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 blah. I just want to focus for a minute on the Eternals. I think that it was a really interesting way that they look at when you look at the Eternals, they're obviously, I think they're the antagonists we're supposed to view them as the antagonists.
They are the antagonists in the long run.
Yeah. It's really interesting because there's an old saying that says, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. And immortality is a dream that humans have been chasing forever. You know, as long as there have been societies, there have been people in the societies that look to prolong life or to end death or to turn back the clock, you know, on and on, etc., etc.
At this point in time, the Eternals have foregone sleep for meditation. They go into, sometimes instead of just dying, they go into this catatonic state, which they gave a name to. I've forgotten what it is. I don't remember.
They don't die. They don't die. But the thing is,
but they do, like I said, go into this catatonic state, which they actually call them something, the apathetics.
Yeah.
When that happens, and
see, that's the other thing, though. Not dying, not growing, never growing old. Let me put it that way. Never growing old doesn't always mean, you know.
It means physically you're not growing old.
Right.
Mentally and spiritually, it could mean you're completely gone, which is where the apathetics come in.
Right. Yeah. And also the fact that the way that the Eternals punish each other, if somebody does something that they feel in their circle is wrong, they will age this person.
Yeah.
So it's not all peace and light and jelly beans and unicorns. It's
an attempt at utopia which backfired.
Well, you can't. Well, see, I have always been of this opinion, and I might be wrong, and I'm sure there are people out there who are far more learned than me, and will tell me if I'm wrong. If you like, I don't mind. Utopia is impossible.
Yes.
Utopia is impossible because utopia would still be full of us.
Yes.
And by us, I don't mean you and me.
Humans
Yeah.
make utopia impossible.
A human society cannot become a utopia because human beings are inherently flawed.
And they have their own free will.
And they have their own free will.
Which is why utopia is not possible.
Right. But we do have the problem is that as a species we have the ability to do great good and create great beauty and love and stuff like that. But we also have the ability to do great evil to each other, cause great pain to each other and the planet.
And we frequently do.
And we frequently do.
Yes. In
the name of whatever.
Science.
Science, racial purity, my God can beat up your God, whatever. And
all of which is stupid.
Which is really sad. But the thing about the Eternals that I find so interesting is the fact that it shows the absolute, what I think is the absolute most terrifying idea of immortality.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that immortality inevitably, when you have a race that doesn't start as immortal, we're not even going to talk about gods or titans or anything like that.
Yeah.
When you have a race that starts as finite, like humans, which means that eventually we all die.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a race like that, and you give a portion of that race go from finite to infinite, eventually what you are going to wind up with is stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's deadly. Stagnation is just as or even more deadly than war, hatred, pestilence, all that stuff. Because that's the reason why humans are so special.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes humans create the things they create. Do you seriously think Michelangelo would have painted something as amazing as the Sistine Chapel in the time that he did if he knew he would live forever? No.
No.
People create amazing, beautiful, incredible things because they know their time in this existence is limited.
Yeah.
And if you take that away, it's just human nature to do nothing. And there is nothing scarier than nothing.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it that way, but that's true. That's very true. I think that's a valid argument.
I just that's what I took away from this film that's, pardon my phone, it's a bad phone. Is that, you have this whole society where you'd think this is what people would want. There's no war. All these people are young looking and they live forever. And it's like, well, great. That sounds terrific. But think about how they exist. They exist separated from the rest of humanity. They have to use the rest of humanity as little more than animals.
Yeah.
And there's no love. These people have no love. They have no love for each other. They have no love for the people outside. They have no love for themselves. Without love, the human vessel withers. It's really weird when you think about the two things that we need as a society to function are love and time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take away one of those things, you're going to kill the other. If you take away the idea that you have this endless life, eventually love is going to die. because you have no reason to cling to somebody else. You have no reason to live every day like it's your last. Why are you going to live every day like it's your last if you know it's never going to be your last?
That's really deep. We haven't gotten that deep for a long time. That makes a lot of sense.
I really had too much sugar today. Wow.
Basically, what we're trying to say is that this movie has got a really terrible reputation.
It does, which is
and
undeserved.
It doesn't deserve it.
No, it is undeserved.
We were both fascinated by the film when we watched it, and it is hard to follow. You got to be awake. Don't try to watch it at 1:30 in the morning when you're like, getting off work or whatever.
Don't watch it when you're high.
Yeah, and don't watch it when you're high. Yeah, don't watch it when you're high.
Do not watch it when you're high.
But you can make it something special by just sitting down and concentrating on it, and you'll find yourself getting drawn into what's been going on.
Yeah.
The production values, I mean, they shot this in Ireland, and there's
some really beautiful exterior shots.
There are, and there's some really horrible exterior shots too.
Yeah.
Like the caves and stuff. I didn't know they had all that in Ireland. So it's news to me because I always think of green grass and pastures because that's the way Hollywood plays it.
Yeah.
And Def Leppard videos too because Joe Elliott and a couple other ones live in Ireland. It's like, oh wow, okay. But I mean, the camera work is interesting. The effects are interesting. There are a couple of scenes in the trailer that are in the film that really look dorky in the film too.
They do.
But if you remember, it's part of the way you got this movie is with the, you think you hit it right on the nose. With the exception of Inception, this movie is absolutely, you are required to suspend disbelief for this film.
And pay attention.
You cannot sit there like a skeptic. And if you do, you won't get what the film is about. Now, going back to the reviews, I was looking at some of these, and a number of film critics had very nice things to say about it, and others did not. Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 stars when it came out and said, quote, "It's a genuinely quirky movie, a trip into the future that seems ruled by perpetually stoned set decorators. Borman puts a lot of heavy concept into Zardoz, but seems uncertain whether he takes them seriously himself," close quote. Which I think might be a problem in some areas, because everything is so lush in the Eternals area,
right,
that it's a very...
well, considering what was to come when it comes to post-apocalyptic films, I'd rather have something like Zardoz than the 9 kabillion movies that all start off with Don LaFontaine or an unreasonable facsimile.
In a world
doing
where...
not doing that. No, not that part. The after the Great War, blah 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 blah, blah 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 blah. All the women have D cups and hair that looks like an irradiated Lhasa Apso and perfect makeup, and there were like...
Fifth Element you're talking about then?
No, I mean like all the Mad Max ripoffs, not the original
Gotcha.
films.
Empire magazine gave it only 1 star and said it misses the mark by 100 miles, but admits that the film has elements, its badness being one of them, which I don't agree with, that make it strangely compelling. And the LA Times said, for fans of wild science fiction, the film is a trippy examination of what happens when an intellect overpowers humanity and humans taste immortality. Mm-hmm. They did no lab work, no processing. Everything was done on the spot, according to director Borman, using shadow lenses, projections, mirrors, and other techniques. Mm-hmm. No post-CGI.
Right.
CGI wasn't around then.
Nope.
No practical effects either from the sound of it. I'm like...
Other than the giant head.
Yeah, that would be the only one.
And if you don't figure that out...
And it might be a big papier-mâché thing when you see it. I mean...
And if you don't figure that out, the title, and if somebody tries to tell you it before you see this movie, tell them to shut up. Because it is one of those moments where you go, oh man, why didn't I see that coming? but it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's a lot cooler movie than you think it's going to be, and it really gives you stuff to think about. I mean, when we go to a film, you and I, usually, when we walk out of the film, we're talking about it. We're not spoiling it because we're not jerks. We talk about, the filming, what we liked about it, somebody's performance or whatever. We were both super quiet after we saw this film. It was just kind of like, it was a lot to process.
It is. It takes a while.
It does.
It didn't help that we were,
freezing.
Late and waiting for an Uber to pick us up afterward.
And freezing our toes off. February in Boston can be very cold.
I think it's very unfair that people didn't pick up the fact that it is an analogicist type tale, where analogy replaces actuality, and you use those analogs for it's basically a big morality play.
Well, yeah,
as every episode of Star Trek is too. If you've ever watched it, look at how Gene Roddenberry frames things, and later on Rick Berman.
Isn't everything a morality play?
It is.
It just depends on the morals of the person who wrote it.
Right.
That's.
But like I'm saying, you could see clearly in the original Trek series, Gene was talking about, like in one episode where racism,
like
war, communism, all different types of things. This one is no different.
Your view on what was heavy-handed or not, that's individual. Your mileage may vary.
Your mileage may vary situation. Zardoz is available at a lot of the streaming services, including Amazon Prime and YouTube, where I think it runs $3.99 for a rental. If you've not seen it, one thing I would advise, watch it on the biggest screen possible. Don't watch it on don't watch it on your phone.
Don't.
Okay, don't watch it on your pad. Watch it on a giant TV or in a theater, ideally. We should get Turner to run it.
I'd suggest watching
at Fathom Events. That would be cool.
I'd suggest watching it with the sound turned up, but if you have neighbors, they may not appreciate
headphones if you're at home.
Yeah,
because some of the dialogue is hard to understand, and a lot of that has to do with Connery's accent when he's talking. He doesn't talk a lot.
No, not really. No.
There's
go into it with an open mind, and I pretty much guarantee you'll come out of it with your mind full of a lot of questions you didn't think you were going to have going in.
It deserves better than it got, and we hope that you'll give it a chance. Zardoz from 1974, directed by John Borman and starring Sean Connery and Charlotte Rampling. Let's move on to another topic that we've been. We've briefly mentioned it, I think, a couple of times.
Okay, we're over here now. Whee!
We've had this show. We're going to be celebrating our 15th anniversary next week. We hope you'll be with us. The rest of the month, we're going to do a lot of anniversary stuff. Our main home base for those 15 years has been Showcase Cinema Revere until December 20th, when it closed.
Yeah.
This is
unexpectedly.
Well, we got warning. They warned us in October that it was closing.
Yeah.
Because the city council did a deal with Amazon. Then they want to put a warehouse in that spot. With the landlords decided that spot, the landowners, would be better for an Amazon warehouse than it would be for a theater. Right. Now, Showcase Cinema Revere is the only theater of its type anywhere within a 10-mile radius of us. The closest now, this theater was literally 2 blocks down the road from us. Yep. Our closest theater is now 4 or 5 miles away, and a long Uber ride away at Assembly Row in Somerville. We have to go to another town.
Yep.
To go to the film. And ArcLight, the brand new ArcLight that we never got to, is never going to reopen.
Nope.
So, because ArcLight Cinemas said they were closing permanently. That was at North Station. Yeah. That was at North Station in Boston.
Yep.
Hopefully another theater chain will step up. It's a brand new theater.
Really?
It had only been open for 5 weeks when they closed to COVID.
Yeah.
So, we lost a lot of theaters during COVID.
We really did.
All of our new luxury theaters closed, except Showcase Superlux, which has been there since 2012. We lost our Carasotis theater where we saw Endgame. We lost ArcLight before we had a chance to get there. Now we've lost Showcase Cinema Revere, it was just, I mean, it was a 20-year-old theater. They just rebuilt it in 1999. They've remodeled it twice since then.
Yep.
And they didn't even think about us.
No.
There was no, it was thought, oh, the traffic patterns are bad there because of the theater and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, oh, well, never mind the fact that there's no other theater for anywhere on the North Shore unless you go to Woburn or Danvers.
Yep.
Danvers is a half an hour, 45-minute trip up the road if the traffic's bad. Woburn is on the other side.
Yeah.
And now there's the one at Assembly Row.
Yeah, there's the one at Assembly Row.
There's little theaters
nice,
like, even Cinema Salem closed. There's Cinema Salem closed permanently because of COVID.
Right.
And the Warwick Theater in Marblehead is closed for renovations and won't reopen until August. Mm-hmm. There's no other theaters on the North Shore unless you go to AMC Danvers at Liberty Tree Mall.
I have so many memories of the theater in Revere.
You have more memories of the original theater, one that burned down in 1999.
I have memories going all the way back to the drive-in.
Wow, yeah.
That location,
there used to be Revere Drive-In used to be where Showcase Cinemas Revere was.
There was that land started as a drive-in that I went to once. My parents were not drive-in people, and the one time I remember going to a drive-in there, I don't think my sister was born, so I was...
That would have been before
4.
1972.
Yeah, I was like 4. The one thing I couldn't tell you the movie that was playing,
mm-hmm.
and the thing I remember the most was that there was like a little playground that they had in drive-ins back then for kids and stuff. My mother being like, "You are not going on that. That's dangerous. You don't know any of those kids. Stay in the car." And I think I probably fell asleep, or whatever. But then they, and the thing is that went out of business as all the drive-ins did around that time.
We'll have more drive-in news in a few minutes.
And it was, just sitting there, this dinosaur of a dead, attraction. Then they tore it down and they put in
the original Showcase.
10. I think it was
12.
10.
Well, 10 when it started.
When it started,
it was 14
10.
by the time I moved up here.
When it started, it was a 10, which was really big.
It was the first multiplex up here, wasn't it?
It was the first multiplex in this area. The closest ones would have been up in Danvers.
Was there a multiplex up there at the time?
I think it was.
Because 2 screens was a duplex and 3 screens was a triplex. You got to have 4 screens to be a multiplex.
I think the one in Danvers, help me out, anybody that grew up on the North Shore, not the one directly on the same side as the mall.
No, the one that was until a couple years ago called Hollywood Hits.
Right.
The Lowe's. Yeah. That started off as the Lowe's.
I think I remember that being 4 cinemas at one point. Mm-hmm. I might be wrong about that.
It was 6 or 8 when Lowe's owned it.
Because Saugus, when I grew up, Saugus had a general cinema, and that was 2 theaters. Peabody had 2, and I think they went to 3.
Yeah.
I think. Don't hold me
Man,
to that.
you can tell we're talking about 70s and 80s here.
Yeah. But, I remember the first movie I saw there.
Yeah.
The first movie I saw at that theater, the theater in Revere, was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I remember the first film I saw there,
Not Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, because that title is stupid.
Well, how come you think Star Wars A New Hope works then?
Because it was always there.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
It's the chapter number. It's not the name of the film. Anyway, I remember the first film I saw there too.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah.
We went to see Son-in-Law.
Yeah.
With Pauly Shore at one of the visits I made up here before I moved up here.
In the back row.
Yeah. Well, we were watching.
Don't remember
the movie.
much of the movie though.
We were watching the movie.
And I have seen so many amazing films there. And
we both have, yeah.
We've had so many amazing experiences there. We've seen, we've seen ballets there. We've seen, Mystery Science Theater 3000s run riff tracks there. I've seen Sherlock. We were there for their.
We've been to Fathom Events Galore and.
Fathom Events Galore. They
even
had
subtitles after a while. We finally got them to. Now they're regularly running Spanish and. They were regularly running Spanish language shows, Hindi shows.
Yeah.
And
we were there when they put in the new 4D stuff where the seats moved and all that stuff like that.
They changed
Never
it a lot.
Again.
When the original one announced that they were going to build a brand new 20 cinema theater, they kept the old cinema open while the new one was being built. Mm-hmm. When the first half of the new one was built, they connected it to the old one.
Yep.
And we only went once during that phase. We saw Beyond the Mat, which was the, was that 99 or 2001?
Might have been 99, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we went on
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day in the middle of a snowstorm. And it was fun. And then
because we're from Massachusetts and we don't care.
They finished the new one, and almost immediately the old one had a fire.
There was a fire, yeah.
Thank God they'd already did the connection and stuff, because they were just, it was being in the process of being prepped to be torn down, and something caught on fire and the place burned to the ground.
Yep.
So that saved them a lot of fuss tearing it down.
Yeah, but still, that could have been terrible if something had caught to the next building.
They remodeled the new one 3 times in just the 10 years we've been there. They put in, they originally had just 20 regular cinemas. Eventually they put in a Showcase XS, which is our big screen. Our super, Regals is RPX, and, each theater chain has its own super cool AMC's teamed up with IMAX.
Right.
Showcases with Showcase Plus. And that theater was awesome. And then later on they added a 4D theater. The only one in Massachusetts until the one in Dedham opened. Mm-hmm. And
what did we see that we saw The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
We didn't see much of anything in there that we were thrilled with.
Well,
because we hate those chairs.
We liked the movies. We saw that, and we saw Deadpool 2.
We saw that, Deadpool or Deadpool 2?
No, Deadpool, yeah.
Man from U.N.C.L.E., Deadpool, and The Martian in that theater. Mm-hmm. I also saw Valerian in that theater.
Yeah.
And they were fun, but man, you get sore if you sit.
You felt
sit
like you were the first time we walked out of whatever movie we saw first in that. I was like, now I know what a sock. Yeah, I was like, now I know what a sock feels like when it comes out of the dryer.
Yeah, because 40 theaters are motion Odyssey theaters.
This is what it's like watching a movie in a motion.
You got the 3D glasses, you got the stuff hitting you in the face, you got the chair shaking up and down, backward and forward.
Like,
Valerian was fun. Valerian was fun. You didn't come with me to see it again.
No.
I love that film, and I saw it again in the 4D. I deliberately chose to go to 4D because I thought it would be cool, and it was. I was one of like 6 people in the theater, but it was worth it. They just put those in 2016, so it's like, what are you doing?
We went there with friends. We went there, as a couple. We would go there by ourselves sometimes. Yeah. If one of us wanted to see a film that the other one didn't want to see. I went to see, like I said, Valerian. I wish I'd been in there when Speed Racer came out. That movie would have been awesome in that 40 theater. I mean, we laughed in that theater. We cried in that theater. I cried in that theater a lot. Yeah, she cried a lot in that theater in 2017 and 2018 in particular. Yeah. As we were discussing last night. Yeah. Because they had a promo for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. She's like, I cried at that. I said, you cried at everything that year. And she brought that up in every single review we did, too. We got terrified. We got angry. We saw all kinds of films there. And now it's gone. And that sucks. You know what's really interesting? I don't think we've ever really sat through a really terrible film more than a couple of times there. Your Highness is the only thing I can think of that and Year One. Only 2 movies I can think of that we utterly loathed that we saw at Showcase. Can think of one. I can think of one that I was at that you left. Mm-hmm. That was when we were going to go to the Riff Tracks thing of Carnival of Souls. Carnival of Souls. I left because I had an accident and spilled my giant soda all over me. And I just said, fuck this, I'm going home. Oh, sorry. Excuse my language. Going home, and I came home and got a shower, and she said, oh, I didn't miss anything. Well, it was really, I felt terrible because I wanted to leave and accompany you. He's like, no, stay here and watch the movie. So I'm watching the movie, and I mean, I've heard of Carnival of Souls for years. People have talked about it being a seminal horror film and, camera work and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm watching this movie, and I'm going, this movie is not good. This movie is really bad. Oh my gosh. Well, there's a reason it was on Riff Tracks, dear. I was like, oh my gosh, does everybody else know this movie is bad? They did. Them? No, not always. They don't always riff bad films. They do when they're doing the theater ones. Well, they riffed the original Night of the Living Dead. Oh, that was an exception because that was an anniversary year. That was, Yeah.
But no,
And it's
would
awesome.
you actually think that people think The Room is good?
No.
Birdemic?
No. Yeah, by the way, our friend Stacy, we know you'll probably never hear this, but we are sorry that we took you
Not
to
a bit
that
sorry.
theater.
Not a bit sorry. Neither one of us are a bit sorry that you came with us to Birdemic and The Room.
Considering she was glaring at the both of us like
She
you.
thought they were hilarious.
Oh.
And they are. So Showcase Cinemas is gone for
Yeah.
us. So
And it sucks.
we're still trying to
We're
figure
really
out
salty.
what we're going to do when it comes to seeing current films when we venture back to the theaters, which we're not going to do until this fall at the earliest.
Yep.
Simply because we have pre-existing conditions, and even though we're both fully vaccinated,
Yep.
our doctors have actually recommended that we continue to wear masks so we don't put ourselves in uncomfortable positions
Yeah.
until things get more stable.
Yeah.
And that's what we're
I
going
mean,
to
if
do.
y'all want to run around and be like, nifty, yay, everything's great, fine.
I went grocery shopping yesterday, and 90% of the people didn't have a mask on. So it was like, okay, that's fine, because I'm fully vaccinated. I'm not going to get it from you, but I wouldn't want to give it to you if I
Right.
wasn't vaccinated.
But we know we are vaccinated.
Yeah,
And if
so-
you're not vaccinated,
Please do.
go get vaccinated.
Please do it if you can. A couple other things I wanted to go over. First off, I wanted to mention, and I'm going to see if I can find it because I don't think I can. That one of the things we haven't done a lot, but we have tried to do occasionally, is take advantage of the digital revolution in the last few years.
Yep.
Over the last year, it's not here. Over the last year or so, a lot of smaller theaters and a lot of film festivals have taken their product online. COVID started happening in Boston right at the time of the Boston Springs of Festival season started. We lost every festival except Salem last year. They ended up running it digitally in July of 2020, which was great. But all the other festivals canceled. This year, some of them still canceled, but others ran virtual festivals,
Right.
or will be. I've been looking for a particular movie for a while, and I was hoping it would show up last year, but then we didn't find out what was coming out, and it didn't. The Seattle International Film Festival, which ran in April, I believe, or early May, I forget which, actually ran it, and I was able to catch it. It is a film that got rave reviews at the 2019 Fantastic Fest in Austin. It is a film that is a very... Kim elected not to watch it with me because reasons.
Reasons.
Yeah.
Really, didn't really grab my attention.
Yeah,
It's kinda
I
weird
do
when
think, but I do think now that I've seen it, I do think you would enjoy it. The movie is called Worm, and I don't know, it's WYRM. And the reason I was so interested is its star is our 2019 male rising star, Theo Taplitz. It was his first lead since Little Men, and I have to be honest, this movie blew me away. It is a dystopian future comedy where kids are collared when they are teenagers to help them move forward in learning about romance and life. The collar will stay on until you have your first kiss, and then you get a bracelet that stays on until you do it. This movie is brilliantly funny. It's satirical out the wazoo, and if anybody gets a chance, keep an eye at your local film festivals, because despite rave reviews it actually won the audience award at the 2020 Florida International Film Festival. Despite rave reviews and raves from festivals, it does not yet have a distributor. I really can't wait till it comes out in some form so we can show it to you, because it's a brilliant, fun movie. Theo's performance is a career maker, as always. I just adore him, and I just think he's so great in everything he does. And we've had some correspondence. He's a very nice guy, and clearly is going to be one of the future filmmakers to
Yeah.
watch. As
He's
a
gonna
writer,
be one of-
director, producer, musician, he wants to do it all. And
Theo
he's good at all of it.
Yeah, Theo Taplit's is gonna be one of those. Okay, he's king of the world. You win, people.
And
he's an actor.
18.
He's a director. He's a producer.
just turned 18. He's a brilliant performer.
One of those crazy talented people.
Worm was. It really is funny and charming and sad and heartbreaking. And the time just goes by like that. It's a great movie, and I hope you will keep an eye open. And I will try to post something if I see it somewhere else where it's available virtually. It was the best $15 I've spent on a movie in the last year, which is not saying a lot because it's the only $15 I've spent on a movie in the last year. But it was very fun, and I hope everybody will get a chance to see it at some point. There is also news coming from another friend of ours that we've talked to occasionally. April Wright, who is the director and producer of the Going Attractions series.
And super talented and very nice.
Oh, she's terrific. Has done a couple of great movies that we have talked about over and over again. Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American Drive-In, and Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American Movie Palace. This is going to be, there is now, she just released an email today celebrating Drive-In Day. Today is the 88th anniversary of the first Drive-In opening.
Wow.
As I say that, I mean June 6th, as we're recording and getting this up. It opened, it doesn't say where, but I know. Drive-ins are on the way back, thanks to COVID.
Which is weird.
They were on the way back slowly before.
Very
COVID
weird.
ramped it up because people realized, hey, we can go to a drive-in and see a movie.
Yeah, it's very curious to say thanks to COVID because it's been such a disaster worldwide.
It is, but it's one of the good things that's come out of it.
Yeah.
Theaters, drive-ins are opening, or makeshift drive-ins. We had a makeshift drive-in in Saugus. The Kowloon restaurant had a drive-in in their parking lot all summer long last year.
Which is really, really clever, especially that place because it's a huge parking lot.
It's also on a hill, which is hard to really. It's on a slope.
It is on a slope,
weird.
yeah.
April has announced they are going to be shooting a sequel called Back to the Drive-In about the resurgence of the drive-in theaters, which is so great because when we did that movie back in our first or second year of the show, the drive-ins were down to under 400 in America, and they're coming back up. They're back in between 400 and 500 and growing.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing.
It is.
She also announced 3 more films in the works over the next few years that will be a part of the Going Attraction series, and they will focus on roller rinks, bowling alleys, and family-owned amusement parks. These are going to be a lot of fun.
Those are going to be really fun.
April is such a brilliant filmmaker, and she has this way of documenting stuff that's incredible. If you've not seen Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American Drive-In movie, or its sequel, the definitive story of the American Movie Palace, they are both available for rent on Amazon Prime, and you should definitely check them out. They are fantastic films. The Drive-In show was really something, and the Movie Palace show was heartbreaking in places.
Really was.
It was almost as bad as Preserve Me a Seat from a few years ago that Jim Fields did that just killed me to watch that one too.
You look at these beautiful theaters that are like mowed down without a thought and turned into parking garages and
So check those out. And April, good luck on the new film. I'm going to be in touch with you. I want to definitely keep in touch while you're doing these new films.
Super duper good luck and break all the legs, as they say.
As we were talking a few minutes ago, Subject Cinema celebrates 15 years.
Wow.
Next weekend. We have been doing this podcast for 15 freaking years.
Holy crap.
I know this last year is not really countable because we only did 7 or 8 full shows and then we did a bunch of pandemic related short stuff. But over those years we have tried to do our listeners well, and we still do have a few listeners. Wish we had more, but we still have a few listeners. Over the next 3 months, we are going to make an effort to do some new stuff.
Yeah.
This marks our first show back as a weekly effort on Subject Cinema. We're going to, from the pandemic, we were more or less off for 18 months with doing, well, no, not that long, 15 months, with a few shows here and there, but was mostly off the last year. We will be back with Subject Cinema every week starting this week. I'm gonna be developing some new stuff that I want everybody to keep watching the website at eCinemaOne.com about that will involve our listeners. We're gonna try and expand into areas where you can interact with us and help us do stuff and also watch stuff with us. We'll be announcing plans for that July, August, September. There's new stuff going on. We will also be debuting a new live YouTube show. Probably, when are you going to feel comfortable to get your hair done?
Probably sometime in the fall, because
probably in September.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about it since about February.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a once a
I'm
week
not getting on
live,
camera right now with this
just
mop.
free for all talk show where we will we'll be on live on YouTube and you'll come in and chat with us and maybe get on screen if you're hooked up that way. Tentatively titled The Popcorn and Rosa Show. It will be coming sometime soon.
Yes.
We have other shows that we have neglected. I am actually officially putting Catastrophe Vortex out to pasture. I just don't have the time to do it. I'm going to continue to do features on them on this show when I can. We are eventually going to get Front Row 5 and 10 running again. Hopefully that'll be later this summer. Platinum Rose's Garden ended unofficially with the end of Supernatural.
Yep.
Kim is still deciding what she's going to do, but Ring Around the Rosie is still has been on hiatus for a few months because there's not been a lot to do. I'm assuming we're going to see that come back sometime soon.
Sometime soon, I will be coming back with Ring Around the Rosie.
And I have a few.
I'm also going to be. I need to work on a little bit more on Platinum Rose RolePlay, which is my YouTube channel.
Yeah, she does some great roleplay stuff on her YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and search for Platinum Rose RolePlay and look at it, because the stuff she's written, she writes it, I edit it and put the music in and the effects and stuff, and it's a terrific job.
It's basically, 'cause I am a very, 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 very
frustrated actress,
amateur voice actress. I'd like to do more, but nobody's offering me money, but or like a job to do it, but. And I'm just doing this for fun, but I'd like your opinions on it. If you listen to it and you think, hey, that was really good, or don't ever do it again, you suck. I mean, I'd appreciate it if you don't say that, because I'm needy that way. But, give it a listen. And if you'd like to, you can go on our YouTube channel, listen to some of our old stuff, or introduce some of your friends.
Well, you can go to on Libsyn. You can go. I mean, some of the 5 minute shows, which are 3 Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Digital Stream Month when it's up, are on Spotify also, as is Ring Around the Rosie. So you can go over and check those on Spotify, but you can check them on Libsyn. You can just search for them on your favorite podcast server.
Yep.
They're there. You'll find them. And we are doing other stuff on YouTube now. Yeah. I have my TKR Video Central channel, which you can go to thekirkhamreport.com and get in on all those. I haven't got all of them posted there, but it'll give you links to get to my YouTube site. And I will be making an announcement on next week's anniversary show about a show I'm going to be doing for Subject Cinema. So it's going to be, and that'll start probably in July. So we'll see where we'll go from there. But we want you guys to know that we are not giving up. We will be back full time. I'm not sure what we're going to do to catch all the new movies. Some of them have been easy. We actually did catch.
We did see Godzilla versus Kong.
We saw Godzilla, and we saw the Snyder Cut. We do have that stuff. It's just a lot of times we don't have the time to do it. We're so busy with our lives outside of stuff, outside of work and in work, and I'm doing so much other stuff with wrestling and with TKR Video Central now that sometimes we don't have time to watch all the stuff on. You've been catching up on some noir films the last few days.
Yeah, I have.
So we'll have plenty to talk about on that one of these days. Yeah. But we are not. We've made a conscious effort to wait till at least September to go back to the theaters, and so we won't have any of the new big blockbusters that are coming out. But it's not going to stop us from talking about all the old stuff that we love,
can talk about that.
And all the classic stuff.
Yeah,
and we'll have some. We don't know what we're going to do for sure, but we're going to have.
We've always got opinions about something.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah.
They're like, can't say that.
Yeah.
Although I already dropped the F-bomb once. What we're saying is we hope you'll stick around as we go start our 16th year on the air next week. We hope you'll spread the word. Always tell people we're out here, that you just have these couple of goofy film lovers from Massachusetts that are missing their theater.
Yeah.
Pissed off about losing their theater.
Missing their theater, missing a lot of brain cells, and most of our, Sorry.
Really? Okay, you can speak for yourself that way. And that we hope to continue to do things forward.
That way.
You're not drawn, and you're not Jessica Rabbit. In any case...
Oh, also, real quick, if you want to follow me on Twitter, PlatinumRoselle at Twitter.com.
eCinemaOne.com and TKR Online on Twitter for me. And
if you want to write to us, please write to us. Suggest a movie.
Yeah, we actually got an email from Mark Chris a few weeks ago.
Woo!
We'd love to hear from you, too.
Yeah.
Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com.
Yeah.
And we'd love to hear what your stories are from the past year and what you think. And we'd also love to hear from you about... if you stuck with us from the very beginning or near the very beginning, why you're still with us. So we can tell everybody.
Have we turned you on to any directors you never heard of? Have we turned you on to any actors you never heard of? Have we, made you laugh?
Have we
just
turned you on?
We're not that kind of a podcast.
Oh, we're not a bump chuck a bomb bow?
No.
Okay. We don't even talk about that on the show either.
You won't let me!
Well, we talked about a couple things that were close to it, but not really. In any case,
moving on.
Thank you for listening for
Thank you.
15 years, and we hope you'll continue to listen. As next week, we'll be here talking about all the crap we used to do, and all the stuff we are hoping to do, and all the stuff that we'd like to hear from you about.
Yes.
And hopefully, we'll get back in the swing of things.
Yes, and we hope everybody's keeping safe, keeping well, and keeping as close to sanity as you ever were.
And please get vaccinated.
Yes.
Until next time. For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We'll see you at 15.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema is copyright 2020 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
15 years. Blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.